Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth is probably one of the worst games I've ever played. I'm kidding, of course. I love the game. I love the game. That's a joke, obviously. But there are a few things that I want to talk about that really bothered me about the game. So this is a spoiler-heavy video. Obviously, if you haven't finished the game, come back later. Check this out if you're interested. But first things first, the lack of multiple materia. And what I mean by that is materia like Elemental and Magnify. In the OG game, Magnify was called the all materia, and you can get a ton of it. Or when materia actually maxed out, it will duplicate itself, and you know, keep getting more and more. In Rebirth and Remake, I had this issue with Remake as well. You're limited on the, I guess, the good materia you can get, which is fine, so you don't get overpowered and stuff. But it's a single player game, and I feel like if we can, why not let us become overpowered? If I want to put a Magnify materia Fire and a Magnify materia Ice and a Magnify materia Lightning, so I have that to cover all bases, I should be able to do that, or I wish I could do that at least. And you can't do that. You get three Magnify materia in Remake or Rebirth, and 3 Elemental materia in Rebirth, and that's it. That's all you can get as far as the blue materia goes for the you know, those two in particular, and that's a bummer. I wish you could get at least 6, so you could put 1 Magnify on each character. Maybe give us 6 and have it only let you put 1 on each character and just lock you out like that. That'd be cool. I just wish there was more ways to do that. And even with, like, there's some of the elemental materia Fire and Ice where it's Fire and Ice together in one single materia. I don't think you get many more of those. If so, I haven't really found them yet. I've been doing a lot of the side stuff, so I haven't really been looking for them. But even so, I've beat the game and done more than half of the side stuff, and I've only found 1. So it seems like there's not very many of that, which is fine. But I wish there was multiple materia of the good materia, like Magnify, Elemental, the 2 magic in 1 materia, Fire and Ice, or Thunder and Arrow, I think, or Thunder and Wind. Those are 1. That way you don't have to keep, because I hate changing my party around and changing my materia around every single fight, or whenever there's people that are in my party that weren't normally in my party that I wasn't using. That's a big bummer for me. I don't like that. I wish there was ways to just make the game, or make your characters how you want with the materia that you want, and have as much of it as you want. I don't see the downside to that, honestly. This is more of a personal thing for me, but it's missing some like RPG things, like exploration. Now I get that in Remake, or in Rebirth, I'm sorry, you can like explore and you can find materials for crafting and all that stuff. But aside from that, really, and Moogle medals, and then doing all the other stuff like the proto relics, and then you got the expedition intels, the classified intels, all that stuff, there's not really any reason to explore the areas or the regions aside from learning more about them, like lore reasons. I wish there was maybe hidden materia only found near the life springs. Instead, you just get like you find, I think, 2 or 3 of them, and then you unlock the an excavation intel where you can go and get stuff to craft. It's just more crafting, lots of crafting, which is fine. But there should be materia, or really good materia at least, at the life springs. Maybe once you find all the life springs, it will show you where a giant one is, and then there's 1 giant life spring there with a really good materia, maybe an extra magnify materia, something. But aside from, like, there's no really reason to explore unless you're doing crafting, and unless you're doing all the, like, you want more lore stuff and do all that, which is fine. The lore stuff's great. I'm all about that. But I wish there was more reasons to explore, you know, if that makes any sense. It's just me. That's a me personal thing. But there's not really any hidden weapons around. Everything's behind crafting. Like the accessories you get, you have to unlock them via crafting, and you got to go get the materials to craft them. I wish there was ways to explore and be rewarded with accessories or hidden weapons or secret weapons and stuff like that. Everything's just kind of handed to you. I had that issue with Final Fantasy 16 as well. It's not as bad as 16, because 16 was you got the weapon load every time. You can miss a few weapons in Rebirth, but then you go to the next town and it's in the vending machine. You can just buy it. So that kind of sucks. I hope in part 3, since it's the grand finale, that they really dive deep into the exploration and have a bunch of hidden stuff around it, where you can find weapons and find accessories and find secret materia and all this stuff. And speaking of materia, the summons are very lackluster. They look amazing, don't get me wrong, but you fight them via Chadley, and then he gives you the materia that he makes, I guess, of them, if I understand it correctly. But there's only like, what, 7 or 8 summons in the game, in the base game, not including Leviathan, the ones you get from having a save file from Remake. And I think that there is one secret summon. I did learn that, that's cool. You got to do a lot of things to get to it, which is awesome. But everything else is kind of like, I don't know, there's not very many, and I didn't use a summon a single time on my playthrough, which is a bummer. And I know that that's a me problem, but I wish there was more summons. And I hope in part 3 they pull through with that and give us more summons. And I know that they're not going to change them drastically, right? It's probably going to be the same style like it was in Remake and Rebirth. Those are pretty much the same way you do them. But I didn't really use them. I know in Remake, I used the summons quite a bit, especially Leviathan. I used Leviathan a lot. I did use the magic pot once in Rebirth, and that was pretty cool. Threw an elixir on the whole party. That was pretty neat. Came in handy. But I don't know. I just never really used them. That's a me thing. These are just my opinions on what I think is wrong with Rebirth and what I hope they address or kind of alter a little bit in part 3. So just better. They just don't feel the same. The summons just don't feel the same. I want to find them in the open. Obviously not the summons themselves, but maybe, again, you get like, you scan their little areas. You scan 3 of them, for like the Alexander one and then all of them. It'd be cool if you scan them all and then like they challenge you. Like the summons themselves challenge you. Not through Chadley, but the summons themselves challenge you. You know, you talk to the summons and you learn more about the world based on what they say, not the little screen that Chadley's that the AI is telling you. You know, the next 2 things are pretty big and pretty spoiler heavy, so again, be warned. And Nibelheim was really jarring to me. I know this is not too big of a deal, but in the OG game, when you get to Nibelheim with the party for the first time after the incident, all the people that live there act like nothing ever happened, which really confuses and messes with Cloud and Tifa. So they took that out in Rebirth and they made it to where they're just open about it. I'm like, yeah, something happened years ago and now we are a safe haven for these cloaked figures. And there's no mind effery there or anything. It was really weird, and I'm very sad they took that out. I really liked that in the OG game, of them being like messed with mentally. Like, what is happening here? It just didn't. The whole town didn't feel as eerie as it was, and the Shinra Manor as well didn't feel nearly as eerie as it did in the OG game as well. It was more of a giant Kate Sith dungeon, which is fine. It was fun to play, but it wasn't eerie and creepy and weird. I remember the hallway going down to before you get to where Vincent is. You fight Yin and Yang there. That creeps me out to this day. It's weird. It's eerie. There's just none of that there. It's more of a science facility now. The Shinra Manor is. And then finally, the last one I want to talk about here is the Aerith scene at the end of the game. There was a lot to unpack there, and I don't know if they intended to make it so jarring, but it was jarring for me. In the OG game to this day, when I see that scene, I still get teary-eyed. I tear up, and it still it tears me up a little bit. And I was expecting in Rebirth to be completely broken, to see that happen in current gen graphics. And while I got a little teary-eyed, it immediately went away because I was like immediately hit with like timeline stuff, and it was jumping back and forth between Zack, I think it was, and all the different timelines on that end, and it was flashing between the Aerith that was alive that didn't die, then one that did die. It was confusing, and I was just like taken out of the main scene. So I don't know if this is a wait and see moment for part 3 to see how that played out, and maybe it'll be it'll pay off in part 3. I don't know, but as it stands now, that scene was not nearly as good as it could have been, or as it should have been. They really, I don't say they dropped the ball, but I really think that it was just jarring. There's just so much going on. The first time playing through that I don't think that's the thought process you want to have, is to just be taken out and jarred by all this timeline stuff. Like, I think that they should have, my personal opinion, what I think should have happened in that scene, should have played out exactly like Remake, right? The Whispers, sure, they can be around, whatever. I don't think they really did anything too much, did they? But they can be there. But they still have Sephiroth come down, do the whole thing, stab, sad, everybody's, you know, sad and stuff. Did they even have the scene that we get in an OG with under the water with Cloud dropping Aerith down into the body of water there? I don't remember seeing that. But anyway, everything should have played out the same, right? As OG, stabbed, everybody's upset, mad, whatever. Leave it at that. No cutting back and forth timelines. No rainbow timeline thing, whatever that was. I'm not even sure what was going on there. With Zack, leave all that there. Have that happen. You fight Genova, move on. And then at the end of the game, then we can see Cloud talking to Aerith, and we can be like, whoa, what? And end it like that. I think it would have been more emotional. It would have hit better, or hit harder, I guess. If that makes any sense. I don't know. That's just how I feel it would have played out better if that would have been the case. Because the way it is now, I'm just not, I don't know, not a fan. Not a fan. And I don't think a lot of people are a fan of the way that played out, which is to be, you know, like, just like a Remake, 99% of the game was spot on, great, perfect. The last little 5 or 1% was what was, you know, controversial. Same thing with Rebirth. And I can guarantee you it's probably gonna be the same thing with part 3. So they're really doing good with the whole game. Everything's so good. It's just there's a few minor things that are a bit annoying, like Nibelheim, like the Aerith scene, like changing up some of the nuances, I guess, of certain locations like Nibelheim. So I'm curious, what are some things that you guys had issues with from Rebirth? Let me know down below in the comments. Be sure to subscribe for more Final Fantasy content. I'll be doing a little bit of 7 remake stuff, Rebirth stuff here and there. And then I'm also going to be doing a lot of Final Fantasy 14 stuff because I'm getting back into that game heavily. So yeah, but anyway, thanks for listening to me ramble and rant. I appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.